Hey, everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of the Nerditorium. It's a geek food podcast hosted by me, Tejas, my boys, Jishnu,
Hello.
and Dinkar. How you guys?
Hello. Very well.
Dandy.
Good to be
That
back in not really a studio, but in some form of it,
one might
because
argue we're in multiple
we're in
studios.
multiple studios. We're recording this across cities today.
Mi
Uh,
casa es su casa.
And the reason we're doing that is because I think the time is ripe. The MCU has faltered in many ways, but it's made a triumphant return this year with two movies that it promised us that would show us what the golden era used to feel like. And we already watched the Thunderbolts. We did not put out a review for that. But we are here for
I will not
Fantastic Four.
stand for this Captain America Brave New World erasure.
Oh shit! I totally forgot about that one. My bad.
We're not going
Good
to waste
one.
your time with those movies because they wasted enough of our time collectively.
I didn't mind Thunderbolts. I'm just gonna put it out there. I
I
didn't mind
really
it.
minded. I
I
really
had,
minded
I had,
Thunderbolts.
we'll
I,
talk about it.
I
Perhaps it will,
really minded Thunderbolts.
perhaps it will come up in this review. But we are here, in fact, to talk about Fantastic Four: First Steps. Now, this is such a big movie, massive cast, and it's just a massive IP for Marvel Comics.
When
It's
you say
Marvel's
massive cast, you mean stature. Because there's really
it's
like four people in this movie.
massive cast in terms of stature. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Paychecks.
Big
Lots of
paychecks.
bucks. Big bucks.
The internet's boyfriend is in this movie. So we've got a massive cast in this, and it's also like Marvel's first family. This is such an important IP to Marvel, and it had yet to make its MCU debut for 5 6 phases. We are officially in the sixth phase, if that's something that matters to you right now. But yeah, we are here with Fantastic Four. This is coming right off the back of Superman, which also released in the same month, and both of them have some similarities. They have lots of differences, but overall, it seems to be a return to some wholesome, family-friendly superhero content, and that's what we're going to discuss today. Quickly, Dinkar, why don't you just recap at least the synopsis of the film and tell us who it's directed by?
Well, Fantastic Four First Steps is directed by Matt Shackman, he of WandaVision fame.
Mm.
And we see him returning to this whole like retro vibe that he seems to love. Synopsis wise, what is interesting about this film, much like Superman, which we will also be talking about, we kind of jump right into the Fantastic Four being a fully operational superhero unit already, set in an alternate Earth 828, removed from the MCU as we know it. This is a
Mm.
story of the Fantastic Four uh, facing possibly their most galactic challenge yet, with
Nice.
the imminent threat of Galactus, as heralded by the Silver Surfer. So the movie basically deals with a quandary faced by the Fantastic Four, where they have to make a grave choice to help them save Galactus. No, to help them save the Earth from
From
Galactus.
Galactus.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I did find funny about the both the intros to both Superman and Fantastic Four. I know we're focusing on Fan Four, but both of them start with this with these kind of like quickly established things. Superman starts off with like 300 years ago, metahumans were introduced to the universe, and then three whatever. It keeps going with 3 months ago and 3 seconds ago, and in this one it starts with like 4 years since the
Yeah.
Fantastic Four arrived on the scene. So I thought that was, I mean, I suppose it says a lot about how filmmakers are responding to a new generation of fans or how they want to address their newest IPs and kind of give people a fresh start or something.
I guess so. And
Mm.
that number thing is odd, though. They both
Hmm.
use the X number
Yeah.
format, and odd similarity
Yeah.
among many odd similarities.
Apart from that, the design of both the films is very bright and colorful. We've moved very, very far away, at least in DC's, for at least for DC's sake, we've moved so far away from the Snyderverse that the dark, gritty reality that was Zack Snyder's entire universe, we're so far removed from that. It's like, please forget that, everybody. Here's Superman. He's got a dog, and it's fun, and it's bright red and blue. And similarly, the design of Fantastic Four is so yeah, it's the retro futurism kind of aesthetic. This is something that they may have toyed with in WandaVision, so I'm pretty sure the production design team may have carried on from WandaVision since Matt Jackman was directing. But yeah, let's talk about it. Jishnu, tell us your thoughts. What did you think of Fantastic Four First Steps?
I felt many feelings, but the first half of the movie were all good feelings, to be honest. I was actually very, very pleased with the first half of that movie. It was very promising. I thought it was one of the best space exploration scenes I've seen in a long time. They really had me all the way up until the Galactus reveal. I was really excited for Galactus only because of the casting choice.
Oh, because you're a fan of The Office.
Is he in The Office?
Of course,
I,
he's
di-
the
I didn't get
original,
that far.
the UK, no, the UK
Yeah.
Office.
Oh,
Ralph Ineson, yeah.
it's been so long since I've seen
He's
The
the
Office.
he's
Well,
the
anywho.
he's the d bag who David Brent wants to be really good friends with. It's yeah,
Correct. Oh
is
man, it's
yeah,
been like over a
massive.
decade since I've seen that.
Yeah. The
Original
show
run.
itself
Anyway,
is so old. Yeah.
but yeah, no, I was happy for him because I'm a fan of his, or most accurately, I'm a fan of his voice. Good lord, that man's voice is immaculate. And I think it just a random side note is that I think every movie ever does him a disservice because for whatever reason he chooses to put on a voice, or like in this case, in this movie, as I kind of expected, they would do some like post production, to make him more quote unquote menacing. But if you just hear that man speak in like an interview, his baritone is absurd. But
It's
anyway,
epic. It's just got an
I'm
epic voice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. Point is, I was really excited. I really liked the first half. I thought it was set up really well. Yes, they hit the ground running. It was all good. I think the biggest pro in this movie, which I did not see coming, even though I am as much of a Pedro Pascal fan as anybody else, I thought it was very much his movie. Vanessa Kirby too was really good, but I think like I was really shocked at how much Pedro managed to carry on his shoulders. I know they're calling it, it's the family, and it's they are an ensemble cast, but it's so much riding on his shoulders, and he carries it really well all the way through. I thought he did a really good job. That said, overall, on the whole, this movie kind of middling, because of a really crummy fall from grace with the third act, and it really only is the last like 20 minutes that just completely pooped the bus for me. Um, and I think anybody that has any beef with this movie, I think, will know exactly which point I'm talking about, and it's genuinely the entire movie's climactic finish, which is just goofy and dumb. And I think like even in our screening when Dinkar and I went to see it, the crowd immediately start. What did they say? Oh yeah, Fantastic Four Karan Johar ban gaya. Like the minute,
It's all
like
about
the
loving your
minute.
parents.
Yeah, like I mean, okay, look, the Galactus fight kind of ends in a really dumb, like my mind powers versus your mind powers kind of thing, which is never exciting to watch. But the bait and switch, or rather the fake out, I should say, of Sue Storm's death was really shit. Like it was completely unnecessary, dragged out way too much, and it just kind of like put a pin in the fact that this movie didn't really have any purpose in my interpretation of it. I didn't see any reason for this movie to exist other than for the tag at the end, because everything wraps up in such a convenient, neat little bow. And like I said, the first half really good. The premise I liked. The way they get to the problem that they have to fix, I enjoy. The problem itself, okay, it's pretty basic, bare bones, run of the mill cosmic problem from the comics. But like the stakes, though, when the problem is so big, not to beat a dead horse about it, comparing everything Marvel ever does to Endgame and Infinity, but you're dealing with something that you're selling to me as an equally problematic problem, equally earth-shattering, genuinely earth-shattering problem,
Mm.
but you wrap it up in such a convenient little thing, and of course no blood is shed because our heroes walk away completely unscathed and everybody's happy. It just like made it devoid of any consequence. So my feeling at the end of the day when I left the theater, unlike for 80% of the movie, which was all good feelings, 80% of the movie was all good feelings for me. What I was left with, sadly, was just imagining Matt Shackman walking into a board meeting with the suits at Marvel, and they say, okay, here's your sandbox. You can have fun, play with Galactus, play with the Fantastic Four, do whatever you want. Introduce the baby, because the baby's going to be the next big MacGuffin for us. And you get a quick insert of Doctor Doom, which is obviously going to be really fun for fans to see. But my problem is that we're now so deep in the Marvel business side of things that I feel like I'm, watching a movie like if Coca-Cola made a movie, or if like if an iPhone release model was the movie, where it's just like we're giving you the next phone which has brand new AI features, but we're not giving you all the AI features. Wait for the next model. But you're telling us it's around the corner. So if you want to be an early adopter, you buy into this movie. What I'm getting at is if you hadn't told me Doctor Doom was going to be in this, I would be far more impressed. But or rather, if you hadn't told me Doctor Doom was going to be in the MCU in general, I would have been far more impressed. But the fact that we know he's coming makes that button at the end completely moot for me. So overall, it's like a 6.57 on 10. It was very promising to start, and then it really pooped the bus towards the end for me.
Right. No, I think I agree with you. I certainly did not find this movie to be good. I really wanted it to be. I think when we spoke about this earlier, you guys said that I went in with expectations, and I really did because I really thought that, you know, the Fantastic Four has such a wealth of stories. You can pick any one of them. You can literally go like really deep, and this is one of the good IPs, man. Like, this is not like you're not doing Ironheart or Agatha, all along or whatever, House of Harkness, whatever the title of that show was. It's like you don't have to kind of think of obscure ways or obscure kind of storylines. You got a hit on your hands. It's kind of like the same feeling I had. Well, that one was far worse, but when I saw The Flash, I was so annoyed because I was like, you have the biggest hitter on your hands, and you've kind of done such a basically meh, like mid kind of story with it. Like I know the big ones are usually you go after either Doctor Doom or you have to go after Galactus, but you can't dispatch Galactus in one movie. At least I just found that to be too. It was like too neatly packaged a film to kind of reply to audiences
If I
that
may
we know
interject,
what we're doing.
did you get a flashback to the Eternals? Because I certainly did.
What, because of how big Galactus is?
Yeah, because you're saying like out of the blue,
you
this is
know,
the biggest thing ever, and
you
then
know, can I
conveniently, it's not.
can I tell you
Like
something?
in 15 minutes, it becomes not.
But the Eternals has a more compelling storyline, as far as I'm concerned. Because at least the Eternals is kind of interesting. Oh, what happens when somebody has lived, for like a million
Sure.
years, and do they have the desire to kind of intervene in human like
Maybe a more interesting
politics or whatever?
premise.
Yeah,
Storyline,
premise. Yeah, but then
premise maybe.
execution.
Yeah.
It's all about the
Yeah.
execution in the end.
It is
Over
what it is.
here,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like they had an interesting premise when it comes to like, okay, cool. There's a massive being coming in to devour the earth, and the only way he'll stop is if you trade your son for him. So that's a pretty high stakes. It's a Sophie's choice. Okay, it's a
Hmm.
classic.
Yep.
Um, to dive into that and subvert it, I felt was like the missed opportunity. And all the movies I'm seeing this year, whether it's F1 or Superman or this, I feel like there's been like this idea, oh, let's subvert a trope, right? Let's subvert a trope. Game of Thrones did it, like started introducing it, and like, okay, cool, let's take all the original tropes we've had for so many decades of movies and subvert them. And now it feels like this year every movie I've seen has doubled down on the trope, like especially like movies like F1, like this. I feel like, you know in a time where now we could be going deeper into the storytelling, like something like Andor does for Star Wars. I just felt like this one felt eerily disconnected with um, you know people. Like they didn't have any people in this movie who kind of interfaced with the Fantastic Four. Like everyone just immediately trusts them. Everyone just the whole world just goes along with this plan. We have no idea why. Like they're just heralded,
Yeah.
as like the great saviors of this planet. And it's like, okay, cool. It's supposed to reflect a simpler time, like in the comics. But like you can't have both. I feel like you can't have retrofuturism, or at least you should try to do that. Where you can go past the speed of light. You can go and visit a different planet. Like so many things like was like weird to me. Like the Invisible Woman is traveling while she's pregnant into space. Does no one see that as like an
Yeah.
absolute danger? Like no one even questions it. No, like
Yeah.
Reed Richards doesn't even have a conversation saying that, oh, listen, maybe you shouldn't come. And then she says, no, we do everything as a family. Nothing.
He
None
has
of
one
that
line.
happens.
Yes. Yeah.
There's nothing like that.
Yeah.
There's no like there's like immediate trust we're supposed to have with the Fantastic Four. Everybody comes back to Earth and says, "Oh," and he's like, "Yo, don't worry, we will protect you." And they're like, "Yeah, okay, cool." They take their word for it. Cool. This is a Joe Rogan-less universe. Maybe there's no Ben Shapiro in this. There's no like anti-Fantastic Four sentiment at all. There's just like
There's
a
no J. Jonah.
general,
Yeah.
there's a general sentiment, which is like when they come back and say, okay, cool, they want our child. And then Susam, all she has to do is give a speech. And everyone's like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, cool, I get it. But like, I just felt like it
Yeah.
was divorced from some kind of empathy of the
Yeah.
people. Like, I don't know. I found that kind of
was
like strange.
It was just all way too convenient all the way through.
And obviously, which ending would we prefer? Which is that, oh, maybe they find the ultimate nullifier, which is in the comics, which is how they usually destroy Galactus, or like some device or some technique or way to kind of do this, right? To dismantle Galactus's plan. But instead, they go like, no, the power of Sue Storm will push this guy into the device we've made, and that's it. And it's fine. I'm also okay with it. But then you had really got to build to that, and I
I'm
just
not
felt
okay with
like
it.
I didn't find that. Like I found Johnny Storm and I found the Thing to be quite compelling characters, even in their limited screen time compared to the other two. I found them more compelling because Johnny Storm is not this a Chris Evans type who's like always just making fun of the Thing for no reason. Like he's not a very cynical Johnny Storm, and he's not a ladies' man kind of like he just wants to sleep around. Like he is just a like he's a good looking boy who everybody likes, but he has some desire to be involved, and like I found some of that kind of interesting, and I found the Thing's relationship with the people in New York, that I felt like a little more compelling than the rest of it. I don't know. Dinkar, what did you think?
I feel like I had a lot of the same issues you guys might have had with the movie, but I come away
Hmm.
not minding them as
You're a
much, let's
wiser
say.
man than we are,
Perhaps,
Dinkar.
but like I mean, Joggy gives it a 7. I would give it like a 7, maybe an 8 tops.
Hmm.
And to me, though, that's not a bad thing. Like I'm feeling like the movie more or less calls it short and does it. I agree with some of the weird like insularity of the world.
Hmm.
I feel like that's partly by design. Like it
Yeah,
really
I
does
agree.
feel like a village rather than a globe.
Yeah.
I mean, consider the fact that in the climactic sequence, the Fantastic Four are literally just calling up governments themselves.
I know.
Yeah.
Like there's
Seriously.
4 of them in a control room where typically you'd expect it to be like a mission control HQ of
Yeah,
sorts.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just the 4 of them sitting in their office and
Yeah.
doing the whole thing. And yeah, like the vision of their Times Square, or the fact that Sue Storm basically gives one speech and everyone's like, okay, let's see what happens. Odd, possibly by design, but also I think it does feel like a lot has been left out of the movie. Like the fact that Mole Man barely gets an appearance, I
Hmm.
found out later. A lot has been cut out of that storyline. John
Ah.
Malkovich had a pretty significant part that
Yeah.
was removed, apparently.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was he
Do
to
we know
be
what?
playing?
Do we know what? Yeah. Do you know what he was supposed to do?
I am not entirely sure. Let me check.
Wow, I had no idea about this. Or maybe they had announced it a
Oh,
while
he
ago,
was.
but I don't remember.
Well, what do you know? He was the Red Ghost. So we see some reference to them having beaten
Hmm.
Red Ghost at some point, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
In a passing
I
headline.
mean, they have a very I mean, sadly, the reference. I mean, the what do you call it? Comparison to a movie like The Incredibles has been made even before this movie was made, right? And The
Mm-hmm.
Incredibles is kind of like a perfect Fantastic Four movie, really, in most regards.
Hmm.
and that manages to do a lot of the retrofuturism and manages to keep the family element together. I just found, this was like they could have done so much, and they just didn't.
I
They chose not to.
agree, and I feel like that is the one thing that I'll say I could fault this movie for. But also, I don't know if it's set out to do that much.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, so the entire it's not so much the final sequence as much as the entire setup of like, we have to defeat Galactus. How do we do it? As soon as you get to that point, you know it's going to go like essentially in a finding some kind of trick way, and that's kind of what they do. Even the way they use the ultimate nullifier in the comics is more or less that. It's a MacGuffin that you have to go
it's
and
a MacGuffin, yeah.
retrieve from his own ship or whatever it was. I forget. I get why they didn't go that route also, because we have enough of these massive objects of power in the MCU as a whole already. So maybe they just went with like, let's show off what Sue Storm can do. It's just that I feel like the movie didn't try to do a lot. It really feels like the first installment where they're just getting things into place. And to that end, I like how they treated all four characters really. I like that the Human Torch is not the typical like the Chris Evans version of him,
Yeah.
or the version that we have seen in the comics often, where he's the idiot hothead, quite
Yeah.
literally.
Just a
Um,
fuckboy.
Yeah, they didn't go fully that direction. Like, there's shades of that, but he's a sensible guy, and that's cool. Even with the thing, they don't go like all out on the whole like melancholy, like, am I a man or am I a thing?
I'm a Muppet.
route. And
Yeah.
I also quite like Pedro's take on Reed.
Yeah, let's
which
talk
is-
about Pedro. I mean, obviously,
It's a
he's
bit of
the,
a left turn. Like,
Yeah.
so I mean, there's always this whole like overthinking super genius angle, but
Yeah.
it's typically played for arrogance in
It is, yeah,
in
yeah. I
most
mean, you
versions
take
of Mr. Fantastic.
RDJ or Benedict in those
Exactly.
exact
I'm
kind
so-
of
Yeah.
roles.
Or
I'm
in
glad-
like most Reed Richard versions in the comics.
Yeah,
Though in
for sure.
the previous movies, Reed has just been like this like unreproachable figure. Here,
Yeah.
I like that Pedro basically plays him as this like really like nervous, overthinking guy who's just like, oh
Yeah.
man, what's gonna
Yeah,
happen?
I'm
I don't know.
excited. I'm excited for at least for them, for the cast moving forward the way they are at the minute. Like the notion of this version of Reed meeting Benedict and perhaps Tony if he comes back or whatever. You know, like they're not too similar, because there was always a danger of that. Because somehow like it works in the comics that it doesn't feel clunky, but I could easily see if you have two people who are basically the same person side by side, it becomes moot. So
Right.
he's etched out at least his own little corner, and they're all three great. So I'm excited to see the three of them together. But my basic bottom line, if I had to sum it up in one thing, it's the cliche of, you know, your movie's only as good as your villain, and the villain really stank in this one, sadly. As
Don't
much
you
as I
dare say that to Galactus.
as much as I like
He has
as
a
much as I
helmet.
like Ralph.
That is a tuning fork.
I think design wise, he looked incredible.
Oh, he
It
looked
was so
beautiful.
good to look at.
I was saying to Joggy though, I find it funny that the entire aesthetic of this movie is very golden age comic-y.
Very
But
Jack
with
Kirby.
Galactus, they were like, okay, we've got to go gritty with Galactus. Like, he cannot
He
have
was-
a giant purple
He
belt
was
and
purpley.
boots.
He was kind of purpley. I
He
mean,
was
yeah,
that,
they didn't make
that
him wear
muted
a.
purple.
They made him
he
more
was a metallic
techno,
figure.
yeah, you know, clad rather.
He
than,
doesn't have a giant purple tuning fork.
Yeah, that's true.
Which
He was literally just King Kong.
I did. Think,
That's all he was.
I did think that, you know, for just
I
to
mean,
get
that's
back to
Galactus's
Pedro.
entire thing, though. Again, like, odd choice of villain, I will say. They could have gone a lot of directions. Even the villain they like threw out in passing, like Red Ghost and the Super Apes who they mentioned, or Mole Man, all like the most cartoony of cartoony villains.
Yeah,
You know, and rather than going with Doom, probably because of the whole RDJ thing, which brings me to something I wanted to say to what you were saying, Jockey. But yeah, like Galactus is, of course, their biggest literal foe, but also kind of the dumbest in a lot of ways, because his whole thing is, I'm a huge guy who eats planets. And like, there's typically like just very weird meta ways to defeat him. It's very Doctor Strange and Dormammu.
Yeah,
So you can either go
did,
like very meta with it, or you go very literal with it.
No, I did think that they had something interesting in that, he wants Franklin Richards so that he can retire, or like
Yeah.
something can change about his lifestyle. So to
Yeah.
maybe
I
give
can
him
stop
a different
eating.
angle. Yeah, so you can
Yeah.
stop eating. There's something really elementally awesome about that. I
Yeah.
do think there was more that they could do. Just to come back to Pedro, since I was just thinking about it, I mean, like, it's tough for him to not like play a leading man who is just like immediately likable. And in this case, yeah, they have given him this nervous kind of tick. He can't address a crowd, for example,
Yeah.
or he hasn't made these spacesuits, even though. So he is. They're trying to show him that he is human. In the comics, they do make him out to be like completely arrogant, complete asshole. Like, because that's how they play off some of this genius stuff
Yeah.
sometimes. But yeah, if this is the baseline from which they want to kind of get to something more interesting, there's the Council of Reeds. This guy's supposed to be the biggest, the smartest character in the entire Marvel universe. So he is somebody who has the capacity to outsmart, Doom or Tony Stark or whoever. Like, he's the smartest guy. So this, if he is going to live out that destiny of his and even create more interesting things like the Council of Reeds and traverse the negative space and all of that space, like then I'm curious to see how they evolve this character, because this doesn't seem like this is the actual starting point, like this is just like, oh, let's make sure Pedro does not eat up the screen time, because he's Pedro Pascal. And credit to him for not kind of chewing the scenery and like making it like about him. I mean, he kind of plays a very subdued version, which is why I guess people were kind of nervous about this, because Pedro's never really led a film, as the main character. Like, like in this way, like he has many roles. Like if you take The Mandalorian or Joel from The Last of Us, it's kind of like it's part of larger. I mean, like, it's not exactly that
Sure.
kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is
I see
like
what you mean.
he has to carry this film, like with Vanessa Kirby and
Yeah.
and then of course the other two. But so I don't know. I don't know how
I
this.
thought Vanessa Kirby did a decent job
She did.
She
She
with
did.
did.
what
She
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 had to
did.
do.
She was cool.
I like that they didn't go the whole like naggy direction that they sometimes take Sue Storm.
I don't know. There's the internal battle of this film is between they is alluded to that Reed actually does want to give up Franklin, and because that's the only logical route he could see. I do think that that's the most compelling part of this film. Like, oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Completely.
cool, go for
A
it,
million
man.
percent.
Let's
A
explore
million
that a little
percent.
more, because
There
then
was
you're
so.
really kind of establishing who this guy is, and
Yeah.
or maybe him coming up with a final way to kind of outsmart everybody. And in a weird way, they kind of prove Sue Storm's point. Maybe that's the way they're going to push it forward. But like Sue just says, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna push this guy into this machine literally with all
Yeah.
with my strength and
Uh,
with probably the strength of Franklin Richards. Who's to say? Yeah.
So I guess the thing is, you're right in the sense that the plot could have gone further, could have been more watertight. But what I take away from this is basically vibes, and I like the
Yeah,
vibes. Like
vibes are
the
excellent, of
main
course.
characters
vibes
are
are
all
really
solid.
fun.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like more than anything else, I appreciate the fact that just the vibes are fine. So, two things. One, to compare it to the rest of the MCU, we are looking at so the Thunderbolts fine was whatever, but
Yeah, let's talk about
what is the Captain
Thunderbolts.
America again? I literally just said the name of it.
Brave New
Brave
World.
New World. Yeah. Oh my god, that
Yeah.
was the most boring wreck I've ever seen, and
Yeah.
I think that's just because of exhaustion with the vibes of the regular MCU. So I
Yeah.
appreciate the new kind of tone that's happening, and that is actually one reason I'm not particularly keen on seeing this Fantastic Four integrate into the larger MCU. I don't care about that. And to
It's
what
happening
you
in
were
the
saying,
next
Yogi,
movie.
I know, and I think that's kind of a bummer, honestly. And I actually feel like there was a conscious effort not to do that
Well,
in
they
this
are
movie. Like,
rebooting the whole thing after
Wait, what
Secret
is
Wars.
wait? Which sorry, which is the next movie? Is it Doomsday?
No,
for
it's
these guys,
Spider-Man.
yeah, no, but for the Fantastic Four, they'll be in
Yeah,
Doomsday
they'll be
next.
in Doomsday
Is what it said at the end.
Right. Oh, wait, so the next release is Spidey, then Doomsday?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, but
probably.
there's one more movie
No.
between Spidey and Doomsday, and Doomsday has like been pushed to December of next year, so there's still time before
Oh,
that.
yeah, they like every other week they're moving dates around still. So
Yeah, because they
it's
haven't
anybody's
finished the
guess.
script apparently, according to Rebecca Romian, who's back in the film.
They,
Um,
I would really like it if they just stuck to doing standalone Fantastic Four movies for a while,
Yeah.
just to
yeah,
I am
explore this
excited. I
world.
am
Because
excited
they've
to see them
created,
again.
like, what is
Yes.
the point of doing
I
all
don't
this,
know, man.
like, very nice world building if you're
Can
gonna
can I
toss
make
it in
a
an
can I
instant?
make like an opposing claim, which is that it reminds me a little bit of when I think about it, it's like Tenet the movie. Okay, now Tenet the movie is not a great movie, but I really applaud
Vibes.
I really applaud its courage to do something fucking
Yes.
weird. Okay,
Yes. A million
and
percent.
for whatever it's worth, Thunderbolts or Brave New World, they may be really terrible movies, but there's something weird about it. There's something like weird in a very like let's try and do everything, and I kind of respect that.
With
Like I kind
Thunderbolts, you
of
mean?
with
What was
Thunderbolts a little bit. With
what was
Thunderbolts a little.
weird?
Well, I
Like
kind of
good weird.
like
What was good weird?
I kind of really liked the ending of Thunderbolts, which was like, oh, in the end, this guy is just kind of depressed.
No,
I
I could
thought,
not disagree more.
I don't know how well it may have been executed. Listen, for me,
Yeah.
Florence Pugh has been the best thing about the Marvel movies this year. Like she was so
Sure.
likable
She
and
was
so
very good.
compelling,
Yes.
and really, really nailed that character in a way that
Hmm.
I gotta be honest, I don't think Scarlett Johansson kind of all the way had it. She was great in Civil
Yeah.
War.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was just so nice, man. Like I just found that really good. And at this point
When you say
in
this, you mean Fantastic Four?
yeah, and I just
Yeah,
mean
yeah.
at this point in the Marvel universe, or at least this point in superhero cinema, pop culture cinema,
Hmm.
I would sometimes lean towards a weirder but more courageous take. Even if you don't nail it, I kind of like if you hit
Yeah.
a few moments. It's the reason we love Star Wars. Like Star Wars is full of duds. It's basically the most average franchise there is. And we love it because it has some of the greatest moments of them all. And I just think that at this point, like, of course, I want them to get it all right. I want it to have the aesthetic of Fantastic Four and the depth of something like Winter Soldier. I know we kind of oversell it sometimes, but like the Winter Soldier, like the amount of like, Cold War espionage kind of machinations that are going on with all the world leaders and S.H.I.E.L.D. and this and Captain America and, Bucky. It's just, there was so much going on in that movie, but it kind of nailed it, like in terms of like nailing who Captain America is, nailing who Winter Soldier is, what Shield is supposed to do. Robert Redford is in that movie. There was something really like, oh man, we're just gonna go wild with this movie and talk about surveillance and the American dream, and boom, it was cool. So I kind of miss that. Really, I really just kind of miss that. And I feel like if you have Fantastic Four, the IP, you have a fresh set of A-list characters. You can do Captain America 1, 2, and 3 with Fantastic Four. So, yes, I agree with you. I hope they can still go back to doing their own standalone stuff as well and really hit the depths that I like about some of them in the comics and stuff. But I just felt like, I was disappointed, man. Like, I really wanted them to kind of go deep. And I just felt like they played it so safe.
Yeah.
I have a question for both of you. Do you feel
I've
like both Superman and Fantastic Four are targeting a younger audience now to kind of start a new generation of fans?
Uh,
yeah,
Superman for sure.
both of them, I'd say.
FF. I mean,
I think they've
well,
always targeted younger audiences.
No,
Maybe
but
with Superman, it's more direct with
they
like,
have been a little
let's
darker,
have Krypto in
in
there.
some of like Infinity War and then Avengers Endgame. The way it concluded was quite
of
dark. It
course.
had dark moments.
Yeah.
But this feels
Hmm.
like like obviously like we were talking about a soft reboot. It feels like far more like aimed at children and toys. I mean, toys obviously it's always there, but it's kind of like a little more simplified.
Do you feel like
Uh,
it's pandering more?
I wouldn't even say it's bad. I don't think there's inherently anything bad about it. I just felt like
Yeah.
the simplification of the plot and the ease, setting it on a completely different universe. So that there's no backstory you have to come in with. You don't need to know anything. You don't need to know everything.
Yeah.
Like you just come in, you're just like boom, here, you're right in the middle of the action. Don't worry about everything else that we've done. And Superman's case, it is
Perhaps,
true because
but
it's the first of its.
Maybe
know,
not, maybe not children, maybe not directly for children, but I think definitely more accessible for exactly these reasons of like you can come in cold, etc., etc. And I think that's why they were willing to let Infinity and Endgame be darker because they knew that the majority of the audience, or at least if not the majority, then like a giant chunk of the audience would be people who are in it for the long game, who had grown with the characters, and therefore you can take bigger swings from the writing perspective. Because just one thing that I've been very cognizant of pretty much since Quantum Mania, if I can go back for a couple of years, was as garbage as that movie was, the one thing I respected was the big swings that they took in the visual. I will never forget the feeling which I still live with of I don't know how to process MODOK because they were willing to like just throw the sink at it, right?
Yeah.
And in that vein, they've taken some big swings with aesthetics and with settings and with vibes, for lack of a better word, right? But not since Endgame have they been willing to take a really big swing when it comes to writing. And that's what I want. That's
Yeah.
like, to me personally, the most important thing. I want a big swing from a writing perspective, much like your Tenant. Your Tenant is a big swing from the writing perspective. Is it a perfect movie? No. But
Yeah.
I respect the fact that the man like
The
tried
ambition.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like we know that he has the backing and the money to execute at a certain caliber, which he never really falters at. So kudos to Nolan for doing that. But the main kudos I'd give Nolan for a movie like Tenet is the concept and just like willing to see it all the way through as this bonkers ass timey-wimey movie. And not since Endgame and Infinity have Marvel greenlit a storyline that is willing to go that extra mile
There
and
are a
let
couple. There are a couple. I think Multiverse of Madness is kind of cool. I like
Yeah.
that movie
I'll
a
give you
lot.
multiverse. I will absolutely give you multiverse, 100%. And I think like we've talked about this. Like multiverse was I think the last movie. Multiverse and like No Way Home were the last two Marvel movies that I really enjoyed that I would happily go back and rewatch.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would rewatch Fantastic Four, or at least if I did, I would stop at a certain point because
I
like
will
I
say,
don't
yeah,
need to see
some
it.
of the visuals are like pretty epic in this movie. I love the Silver Surfer. I thought that was really cool. The way they handled the physicality of the character. That
Yeah.
was really awesome. In fact, like when they lift off in this movie to go and say, okay, we're just gonna talk to Galactus and just like find out what's up. And they go. I was like, what? I didn't see this in the trailer. What the hell is going on? And they actually go there. And I just found that so cool. I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, yes, Marvel, let's go. This is gonna be like interesting. Even though I had issues, with the way the movie started, it was like two sets of montages where I was just like, oh, okay, too much happening. But cool, whatever. But the moment they kind of hit this stride, in this, they're taking off and they're going, I was like, well, cool, they don't care about Sue Som's pregnancy. It's fine, just go,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
I just found that I found that so cool. And then like it just doesn't live up after that, it's just yeah. But anyway, so
Well,
that's
should we put a pin in Marvel and let's
yeah.
cross
Let's
the pond?
let us cross over to the DCU and talk about Superman. A quick review of Superman. It's been out for more than a month now. It's done relatively well,
Yeah.
and it's making bank, and it's a big positive step for the future of the DCU, which has been obviously spearheaded by James Gunn and Peter Safran. Yeah, like Fantastic Four begins in media res and really kicks off from there with a whole world of metahumans already established. There's a Justice Society featuring characters like the Green Lantern and Hawkgirl and Mr. Terrific. Superman has been Superman for a couple of years, but he still hasn't found his feet. And obviously, he's at odds with Lex Luthor. What did you guys think of Superman as a whole? Dinkar.
I also enjoyed Superman
Hmm.
more so than the Fantastic Four.
Hmm.
I still don't think it was perfect, but it was most definitely a great first step.
Hmm.
Solid movie throughout. I
Superman
thought.
first steps.
Yeah, Superman first steps.
Yeah.
By the way, are we talking about Franklin's first steps? Because I was hoping you'd see him walk around.
Yeah, I didn't, right? He doesn't.
No, he doesn't. What a
Right.
perfect way to end the
First
movie
crawl.
when he takes his first steps. Anyway, yeah, Superman, pretty great, man. Like just solid vibes all around. I feel like there were some parts that were so they obviously went pretty goofy with the tone, right from Lex Luthor's whole deal to the kind of to the other characters, all slightly irreverent in tone, I would say.
Hmm.
And I don't mind that for the most part. Just Occasionally, it came off as too dumb, but for the most part, it was fine.
I think it
And
really helped Superman's character be quite earnest. Like when you have that dumb kind of irreverency around surround Superman, it makes
yeah,
Superman look very classic and
Mhm.
golden age superhero. So I thought that worked
that's true.
quite
Yeah,
well. Yeah.
yeah.
Lots of James Gunniness about this. At this point, my only, like I was just talking about Chris Nolan, I mean, like Chris Nolan or whatever it is, I kind of respect the movie for what it was trying to do. I don't think it does it. And I think my big issue is that I think James Gunn shouldn't have directed this movie. Um, I really think that when Sam Raimi directed Spider Man or when Nolan directed Batman, they were like that was their first superhero film, and we hadn't heard of them as directors. I mean, at least I hadn't when Sam Raimi's Spider Man came out. Obviously, he was quite established as a horror film director, but we didn't know the moves. I feel like James Gunn's moves are well documented at this point, having done many
Yeah.
Marvel movies and scripted parts of Avengers as well. You kind of
Mhm.
know the moves as they're coming in. You know that the soundtrack is going to slap. I mean, I have
Yeah.
been streaming, yeah, Iggy Pop, as much as the next person. And it's a great soundtrack. And when a good soundtrack comes out, we are all very pleased because we have something to play at Halloween. So that's great. But at this point, I just felt like I wish there was a new director who had a tone that we hadn't seen before, so that I don't know where the beats are going to be, how it's going to kind of unravel, like how the plot is going to reveal itself to us. But yeah, so that was my one issue. And the second issue is I had some, the more I think about it, I have some issues c- uh, with parts of the script, which is that um, I think this message from Kal-El's parents is really a weird choice. And let me just try and explain that just quickly before I get to you, Jishnu. I just think that I found that to be maybe the strangest part of the film, where they kind of translate using AI, ChatGPT. They translate Kryptonian for all of us, and it turns out that Superman's parents, a la Bruce Wayne, not very good people. And it turns out that they want Kal-El to rule over the earth, show them the way, have a giant harem of women to sleep with. And I just found that fucking insane. And here's why. And not just because I found this harem thing kind of really weird and kinky and shit, but like I just found that from a conceptual level, it doesn't really make sense. If I may give Zack Snyder any props, I thought his depiction of Krypton was very cool and interesting. And what it does successfully that this movie does not is that Krypton is a planet that is dying and it is steeped in politics. And because of hubris of the government, they will not listen to the two scientists, which are Jor-El and Zara. I can't remember her name. Um, Superman's parents, they don't listen to them, even though they warn everybody that this is going to be the end of this planet. Please leave. And it is on that pretext that they send their son off into the universe to land on Earth. So, from a very story point of view, they are like good people who said, oh, we tried to protect everyone, but we couldn't. So, at least we sent our son off into a place that he would find a home. Now, to change that message into being like, oh, we are sending you out almost like just because, hey, it's a coincidence that our planet is kind of ending. And we also, wherever we're sending you, just make sure you bang a lot of chicks and have a good time. I just found that to be like really an odd choice, man. And like the
Yeah.
fact that, the movie resolves itself that by Superman saying, you know what, my human parents are my real parents, the parents who took care of me. And I just found that to be really wrong, man. Like, I don't agree with that. Like, Bruce Wayne's parents being billionaires, yeah, of course, in the climate that we're in, you can't be a billionaire without having had some shady dealings. I get it. Cool. They kind of skirt around it in The Batman with Robert Pattinson. But in this movie, I felt it was unnecessary. And I just found that weird. And I just wish that James Gunn didn't lean so hard into his nature.
I feel like it's a weird choice for the sake of a weird choice. I fully agree. The logic of it just doesn't stand. If it
Yeah.
was his parents are dicks, maybe there's a
Yeah.
good way to do that. I don't think this was it because it just doesn't stand to reason that you are dispatching your one survivor on this entire planet, and your message to him is go conquer another planet.
Yeah.
Even if you were the most evil beings in the universe, that's not what you'd say. You'd say like, "Hey, we're all dying, but we hope you'll do well out there."
Yeah, just
We
you're
found
the
this
you're the
planet.
last son of Krypton. Just thrive or whatever. Just
Yeah, your
be
message
alive.
isn't going to be conquer when there is no when there's no planet left after you've been
just-
dispatched.
I
It
found
just
it so
seems
strange.
yeah, it just doesn't make any emotional sense for a person to do that. So not the strongest logic. That said, the the solve of, well, my real parents are the ones who raised me, that I think is fine, because again I feel like the emotional logic of that is strong,
Yeah,
because
of
you're saying
course.
like, well, these are the people who gave me my values, and these are the people who I have actually spent my life with, and who
Well, I
taught me
mean, in the
everything I know.
movie, it says
Fine,
that
that makes
Jor-El's
sense.
message is saying, I mean, the half of the message that he understands is saying that, oh, go be a good
Has
guy. And that
yeah,
has kind of influenced him as well, right? Like, because he's just like, oh, yeah, this is who
I
I am,
suppose
man.
so, but then he realizes that it wasn't just because of that message, but because of how his Earth parents raised him, that he is the way he is. I
Yeah.
thought that's kind of where they landed, and I think that's fine. It's
Mm.
just that the way this was done seemed provocative for no reason, which
Yeah.
does feel like a very James Gunn thing.
Very James Gunn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
There's
do
a-
enjoy though how Mr. Terrific when
He was cool.
yeah, he was
great.
cool.
Yeah,
On the
was-
news, when the message comes out and they say this message has been verified by scientists, and then someone else says, I think that message might be fake. And Mr. Terrific says, no, I know scientists. They don't lie.
They don't lie. They do computers well. Yeah.
He was good. He was kind of like the
Oh, man.
unexpected, like
Yeah.
cool, fun part of this movie.
That
Yeah,
came
he was
out of
pretty
nowhere.
fun.
Great.
That
I feel like that actor whose name I don't know.
Eddie,
Our old guy Eddie from
old man Eddie.
Darwin from X-Men First Class.
There we go.
Oh, yes, that's
That's
where
where you
I've
know
seen
from.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah, all right. He nailed the tone.
A superior
Comic
film.
booky
Yeah.
and somewhat serious at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, great.
Yeah.
I feel like we were a little shortchanged with Rachel Brosnahan. You don't cast such a good actor and then like kind of give her a half-baked role. Like she didn't really have much of a role here. I mean, she obviously is contesting Clark in the beginning of the film. Jishnu, what did you think of the politics of this film? You feel like
Yeah,
it's already been done and we kind of don't need that anymore?
I mean, yes, that for sure. I don't need it anymore. But it's lesser so than the politics, because yes, that did like I did have to like I couldn't ignore that. What I did find myself struggling with though was that, as you know, like ever since we as like collectively have gotten to know James Gunn since Guardians, I've been a big fan of his and always been very excited to see what he does next. And I fully acknowledge that he's had some duds, mostly sadly within the DC universe. But I've grown pretty tired of his moves because he's become a little too self-assured of his own moves, and um, he lacks an element of surprise for me in his films now, and has for the last several films. Um, while I really do enjoy like how he's been doing this subversion of, like you said, the Snyder DC doom and gloom, straight out of the gates, everything is coming up roses with the opening of the movie, with crypto and all that. But like, I think you put it pretty well when you were describing Guardians 3. Like his emotional manipulation is way too on the nose. And it's just like it's so now if you've been following his work, it's so by the numbers that he put on the page. You know what I mean? Like you can see it coming a mile away, and therefore when it comes, I'm already like starting in the negative. Because I'm like, okay, I know what's about to happen. There it is, it's happening. Is there something at the end of this that's gonna surprise me or make me go like, oh, okay, there's the effort, as opposed to, I know you can do this because I've seen you do it before and you do it well. So I'm not gonna say you didn't do it well because you did do it well. But I'm not impressed anymore because you've done this a million times. And when it comes to um, just in general, this is not a James Gunn thing. This is a Superman thing. For me personally, I have never been terribly compelled with Superman, but as a character, that's a me problem. There's nothing you can do about that. But to again the movie's credit, Superman was really fucking great. I was so happy with the performance. I really enjoyed the dilemma that was addressed pretty early on with the interview with Brosnahan and with David. And by the end of it, I just kind of had to go along with the ride of like, cool, we're just doing another James Gunny, romp. I didn't feel terribly compelled with the emotional stakes of things, and that's because of the politics of it and like how is it fair to call it like cookie cutter? Because like how you said, do we need this rehashing of the white man coming to save the brown people, but saving the brown people from another white man kind of a
Yeah.
thing? Like because that was basically all over the
Yeah,
place.
we had a bit
So
of a mustache twirly villain in that Baravian,
yeah,
president.
I like I'll tell. Okay, I'm glad you brought him up because I almost forgot about him. Like the whole time, the entire time, the minute I saw him, I was like, "Wow, this guy is such a fucking cartoon, surrounded by cartoons." Right? He's
Yeah.
the cartooniest of all the people. He was even more cartoony than Mr. Terrific. And the whole time, I'm thinking this has to lead to something. Like he has to be like a Scooby Doo villain. Where you're going to pull the mask off
Very
and really it's
Scooby Doo,
somebody else,
yeah.
right? And it wasn't. So my conflict at the end of it was like, do I respect the fact that he's stuck with the cartooniness all the way through because that takes balls, or am I disappointed that it was just a stupid cartoon villain and I didn't know? Because normally like I would see a clarity of vision, and I felt as far as that was concerned, I didn't know which way I don't know what he was trying to go for because he felt I just felt him feeling very self-assured because I guess he has to be because there's literally nobody at that studio can tell him no,
Yeah.
right? So he's
I
like,
mean, he
I want
did
to do
say
it.
that he didn't
I'm
want to
gonna
But
direct this
doesn't it
movie.
feel like it is very intentionally cartoony all the
Yeah.
way through? Like I feel like
Yeah,
there's
it
Yeah.
is.
very little you can say that is not cartoony in
Yeah,
this
yeah.
film.
Just
Yeah.
the way the characters are written, Guy Gardner, his kind of
But
like stupidness,
Yeah,
but
like
then
Superman
okay,
has has his super dog. Like the best you could say is Superman comes off as serious, but again, that is in a cartoony sense, right? It's very much
but
like a
can I say what about are we I don't think you can ignore the fact that they showed I forget who it was in the jail, some poor guy getting his head blown off. Like out of the blue, which was super like, whoa,
Yeah,
did
yeah.
not see
They
that
had
coming.
some gore, yeah,
That's
randomly.
and that takes ball. I respect that because I'm like, great, there's the stakes. There's the reason Superman has to fight. So you stop Lex from like because it's easy to like think of Lex as this evil dude who's doing stuff, horrible things and atrocities off camera.
Yeah.
But it feels more so real when you literally see a dude really shooting a guy
I
in the head, right?
yeah,
So that was great, but at the same time, you're absolutely right, Dinkar. Everything else is cartoony. So I was just like, I
yeah.
I'm happy you did that, but at the same time, I don't know. Was that like an afterthought? Was that like, you know what I mean? Like, there was just a little bit of discrepancy there for me. But that being said, since we are comparing the two films, like 100 times over, this one just felt far more rock solid all the way through. It carried itself
it was
really
weirder
nicely
for
all the way
sure.
through.
Yeah,
Yeah, weirder
definitely
in
weird.
like
More
the better ways as
characters, yeah, a
well.
little stuffed, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Proton
But
River.
yeah,
What did you see? The thing, Dinkar, what do you think of Lex Luthor as a villain? Like, 'cause I don't feel like his motivation was. I mean, they tried to write it out, but I don't think they did enough to kind of show why he's so vindictive. I don't know. Maybe I need to watch it again, but I
He's
couldn't.
jealous.
Yeah.
It basically boils down to that. No, I don't think. I feel like Lex as a villain in terms of plot wasn't actually the strongest here.
Hmm.
I feel like it still works because of Nicholas Holt's
Mr. Holt, he's
performance.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a
Yeah.
good
Like
actor, obviously.
he really just pushes it over the top. It could very easily have been quite flat because on paper it doesn't read great. It's just this man is so jealous of Superman that he's obsessed with taking him down, and hence he's done pretty much everything he's done in his life, including like these geopolitical games at a global level.
Yeah.
Quite nuts, and nothing in his nothing in his plans really justifies
Yeah.
any of the stuff
Like,
he's talking
yeah,
about.
he has a pocket universe. All right.
it's in
Cool.
keeping it, but it's like the geopolitics is also very in keeping with the Christopher Reeve one. He's still just doing real estate.
Yeah, he's doing real estate. Well, I mean, obviously
I
the
mean, that's kind of what geopolitics boils down to, even in the
yeah,
real
it
world,
is
if
real
you ask
estate.
me.
Yeah, I will say,
Give us this land. No, let's fight.
the main problem with Superman is obviously has been that he's so difficult to write because he's invulnerable and he has this power that he can go to a different part of the world and fight their wars for them, right? So it becomes hard in today's day and age where this whole which was addressed in Man of Steel as well, this unilateral power that or rather in BVS. Unilateral power can a US citizen go and fight in a different country? In a weird way, I'm glad they addressed it, but I hope they don't bring it back again because now we kind of just need to move past it because you can always have this debate and they won't have a good enough justification for it. The only way they did it, they did it well in the Marvel universe when they did the Sokovia Accords. And the way they resolved it was like, okay, cool. There is a fucking intergalactic threat. Now all of this is meaningless. So just fight that guy and let's scan it.
I also feel like the
yeah.
reason it plays better with that, a much better version of this, you're absolutely right, is because you have the Wakandans also talking and
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
like, what gives you the right? Here, it's basically a white lady telling a white man
Yeah,
in that whole, like,
Yeah, you're right. I just
in the whole conversation, it's just
Also,
like, well,
they're
what
real-
gives you the right? And you're like, well, you're both just like two white people sitting around and discussing it like it's an armchair matter.
Yeah, I mean, not even the International Court of Justice. It's just like, okay, this is what it is. It's fine. So and in a weird way, I mean, despite the terrible names, yes, albeit from the comics, Jarhanpur and Boravia, even though those were the ways we had to kind of address this at least once. I hope in movies going forward, they don't have to kind of debate the politics and just let's get to like some more character drama because that's where Superman for me is probably the most interesting in the comics is like, oh, the fact that he's still got human issues. He's kind of interesting as this like all powerful being. There is definitely stories to mine there which are just there in the comics, man. You just have to just adapt them faithfully and you'll get something cool out of it. I hope they don't come back to some of this stuff because it's just like, guy, I can't. Like we've done it. It's fine. And obviously, there are two sides to this. One is like, oh, everybody is speaking to Tony Gilroy saying that, wow, how did you address something like fascism when we're so close to it in real life? Did you know this 5 years ago? He's like, no, of course not. But this is something that has been going on for hundreds of years. So I just pulled it from there and we're good to go because it's so close to what reality is like. And here it feels kind of like, okay, you did the exact same thing, James Gunn, but in a very knowing way, kind of like reference Ukraine or Russia or Israel, Palestine, or whichever one you want to see it as. But I just found that to be
I
so
know
on the
people are
nose.
taking that from this movie, and I agree. But it's also, I think, because what is happening in an Israel Palestine or a Russia Ukraine is something that has happened so many times. Where
Yeah, of course. This is this
these
is a
are
tale as old as time.
yeah, exactly. So I don't know if it's intentional from the movie's end,
Maybe not, maybe not.
but
But then,
and maybe it doesn't matter. Like I'm just
yeah,
glad
you're
people are
right.
taking it away and going like, well, at least someone's saying something about this because well, someone should say something about this.
Yeah, but I just think that it just doesn't work if you're making a really serious film. I don't think Zack Snyder or James Gunn have the depth to kind of address that. Oh well, they may have the depth personally as individuals.
They don't
but
have the
like
interest,
they don't have the. I don't think they have the desire. Yeah,
which is fair.
to do it. But
Yeah.
then it becomes like kind of like a don't use. I don't know. I don't know.
I think I know. I think I know what you mean. Like, don't put it in like the primary plot if you're not gonna like
Or
see it
can
through.
they? I
Like,
mean, of course they can. Maybe they can. I mean, The Dark Knight Rises had plenty of Occupy Wall Street references. From the reverse angle in it somehow. This 99 versus 1%. So of course, movies can reference. Nobody's saying you can't, but like because it's such a cartoony take, as we've kind of established, it feels like a little bit of a like a I don't know. I don't want to say disservice. I just think that it's a.
little square peg round hole happening there. Because everything else checks out. Everything else like sits nicely in this cartoony vibe, and then this like hyper real
Yeah.
thing that is very close to home to the audience's home, literally,
Yeah.
is just like this is unnecessary.
Yeah. And I mean,
know?
yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
more ways than one you can look at it. Okay, cool. The American citizen involving himself in a completely different part of the planet, which is literally
Yeah.
what happens on a daily basis. So it's just, yeah, of course, these are comic book movies, and it's hard to not, just you want to go in and just want to enjoy yourself. But then when you kind of allude to some of it, then you're just like, well, are you being serious or are you not? It's tough. It's tough to kind of gauge
Yeah.
the
Perhaps don't broach the
intent.
topic if you don't have the
Yeah.
wherewithal to carry it through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is I mean, okay, so just to wrap this one up, I mean, there is a nice post-credit sequence in this, in Superman, which I found quite funny, which is after the Pocket Universe has been restored and the city has been restored, Superman and Mr. Terrific are looking at a building with a giant crack in it. And he's like, see, it's like kind of like, yeah, we did it. We put it back together. I don't know if this is supposed to be James Gunn's way of addressing the audience, telling them that, yo, listen, we tried. It's fine. It's not perfect, but it's okay, like, and Mr. Terrific is like, just like, no, this is not how it's supposed to be. I thought that was quite funny, actually. That was one bit of James Gunn I didn't mind. I found that quite silly and no, a
Yeah,
little
it was
nod to the
fun.
audience.
On that James Gunn front, I know it does feel like it's a lot of the same beats he always hits,
Hmm.
but I do feel like I I think it works in this movie because it hasn't in the past. Like a Guardians 3, for example, is literally all
I mean,
just like
I don't mind Guardians 3.
I
Actually,
don't
the
mind it
Suicide Squad
either,
is my
but
movie, which I think was kind of
oh,
like
absolutely.
very
I don't mind
poor.
Guardians 3 either, but
Yeah.
as a I'd say I preferred this movie to Guardians 3.
Yeah,
Just
100%.
at
I
like
agree.
at an
Yeah.
enjoyment level,
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
else aside. So I feel
Yeah.
like he does the greatest hits, but he does them well, and I feel
And he
like
has a
that's kind of
personality, which obviously we've now kind of come to see that the Russos kind of lack, when it comes to when they
Mhm.
make movies which are outside the Avengers
Mhm.
films. So
Yeah.
so in that way, I do respect that he has a craft, he honors it, and he does it. So yes, he is from a business decision. Yeah, he's probably the right guy to do these movies. Like any other director would have come in with a fresh voice, maybe made some interesting decisions, but probably wouldn't be as you know well packaged or like from this guy's a very experienced guy, like
yeah.
super senior now, and like kind of become, he's really worked his way to the top. So for that I will give him props, and yeah, looking forward to the rest of the DCU
I
from
think
that
with both
point.
of these movies, though, the feeling I get, or at least what I'm taking away, I don't know how much this was the intention, is that they're palate cleansers almost. They're kind of just
Yeah,
resetting
Yeah.
things. They're going like, let's set a new baseline to look at these movies, because kind of the issue with how everyone looks at these movies, particularly in the MCU's case,
yeah,
and also in the DCU's case, though it's been reset somewhat with James Gunn coming in now, is that you cannot look at these movies without the weight of everything else. Like I don't. I don't put a whole lot of weight on that little doom tag at the end, because found it quite refreshing that, like, to me, it felt, unlike you were feeling, Joggy, that it didn't really index a lot on that. I feel like if you walked out of this movie after the first set of credits start rolling,
Hmm.
you wouldn't miss anything.
yeah,
It's not like there
agree.
were
It's
scenes
so
where they were
unimportant.
kind of going like, "Wait, I'm getting the sense that there are other Earths out there." There's no mention of the rest of the MCU. There's no allusions to it. It does try to stand on its own.
Hmm.
Superman also obviously does that. Uh, Aside from like a stray John Cena cameo or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it just feels like both of these movies, the heavy lifting they want to do is not really in terms of plot, but really just vibes where they're going like, let's like let's try again.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Let's
In
start
fact, like the
over.
Thunderbolts has a massive post-credit sequence, right? Like it's got
Hmm.
one where
I actually haven't seen that yet, by the
the
way.
Avengers. So it's basically the event.
What? You haven't
They are
seen the
now.
Thunderbolts yet, or you haven't
I
seen the
have not
post
seen
credit?
Thunderbolt Star. No, no,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Ah.
I'm not
Oh,
the most
Dinkar,
fussed
I'm
about it.
curious to think. I'm curious
I
to see
know.
what you
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. That'll be a fun conversation.
Because I didn't mind it. I don't think it's as good as any of the movies that we've talked about today either.
Hmm.
It's they're all pretty average fares, but there is something kind of interesting about it. I don't know why. It's compelling in a weird way, particularly because of Florence Pugh's character and Bill Pullman's son, Louis Pullman.
Louis Pullman.
Very interesting.
Hmm.
Good actor. I thought he was quite good.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our review of Fantastic Four First Steps and Superman. Good to be back talking about this stuff. It's fun.
Ooh, I did
Even
want to say one thing about
go on,
Fantastic Four.
go on, go on, go on, Dinkar.
Not a lot of stretching. Is that
Yeah,
just
right?
me? Like
I-
barely any stretching.
Do you
Very
think that?
stretchy.
Do you think that the Marvel thinks it's silly? Do you think
I
that they
will
think it's
say
like kind of
it
silly?
is silly. There is
It
no way
is.
it's not
course.
silly. You can't do.
Why do you think
I'm a
they would
bendy,
do-
stretchy guy
You
without
can't go
being
like,
really
dude, you
silly.
can't go like this guy's power is before he became fucking Mr. Fantastic, he was already the smartest guy in the world, in the universe, potentially. And then he was like, and he can stretch.
And I can stretch a little. I do yoga. It's like, okay.
Not very
cool.
stretchy. Also, when Galactus is kind of like pulling him apart,
Yeah.
it's like he didn't go too far.
Yeah,
that
that's
was my-
barely
that's-
anything.
That's all I was thinking the whole time. I was like, that's not that bad.
So you can
Right.
grab the remote from
That's not
across the
bad.
room. Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
They don't even. Yeah, I mean, ideally, you should.
Like,
The ideal version to deal with this for Mr. Fantastic in the comics would be like, well, I'm just gonna extend my entire body and envelop the earth.
yeah,
That's the extent of
Dude,
his stretchiness.
nail on head. Growing up in my brain, I knew that Superman could spin around the world and make it move faster, all that stuff.
Now, I was so
Time,
sure they were going to
But
make a joke about
I-
that in this movie, but they did.
In my head growing up, I thought that similarly, Mr. Fantastic can give the world a hug.
He can. Maybe. I don't know.
Can he?
I'm sure.
Apparently
It's a. Well,
I don't think so. But
I don't
do
think they
that he can
ever
stretch.
settle on how much he can stretch.
Yeah.
He can definitely
That
go
is
further than
canon.
what he did in this movie.
Oh, definitely.
Do you think Pedro Pascal's agents were just like, okay, cool, he'll do it, but we gotta cut the stretching to kind of like 10 minutes screen
Yeah.
time max?
Do you
Oh, it's
think
not
Pedro
even.
Pascal's
I think
agents
it's
were
like
like
180 seconds.
in the materialists, you play a guy who wants to be taller?
Can you believe
So how about
that?
you play a guy who can
died.
stretch?
I died thinking about that. I was just like, this is insane.
Yeah.
That's so funny. In the materialist, yeah, he gets leg
Literally a guy who wishes he
extensions.
could stretch.
Yeah, basically, it's really funny. But okay, I think that's our review for both of these films. We have some other movies coming up. We can take a look at them later on this year. I'm not sure what else is coming out this year. Guys, give us some. I mean, all the summer movies are already out. F1, Jurassic Park, Rebirth. A bunch of them.
Are
have
they?
already
Tell
come
us
out.
about F1 in one line.
Oh man, it should have been called Control or Delete. No, I'm kidding. It was once again. It was just it's a lesser Top Gun Maverick in terms of high octane action, big movie star, Joseph Kaczynski at the helm, and kind of just leans into the most classic tropes you can imagine about these kinds of racing movies or any sports film. But it did well, it's not the number. It only made like about 400 million internationally and domestically at the box office. The number one movie of this year, actually, this is far more interesting, is any guesses by the way? What the top three are?
The number one movie this
What's the
year?
number one box office movie this year, guys? And number
Minecraft?
two. No,
Minecraft, yeah.
that's number three.
That's a good one.
If you can give me one and two. You won't get number one, that's for sure. But if you can give me number two, it's a movie that came out recently, like a couple of months
Not
ago.
Jurassic Park, I assume.
No, but close. Jurassic Park is like in the top five. I think if it's not fifth or sixth or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I'm
it did really well.
surprised.
It's massive IP, man. Massive IP.
I guess so.
And Superman
but
and Fantastic Four are still making numbers, so let's see how that goes. But the
surprised
number one
F1 isn't
movie,
up there.
the
Yeah,
number
what is
one
the number
movie
one movie?
is a movie called Ninja 2, the sequel to the first Ninja, which is a
There's a new
Chinese,
Nisha?
a Ninja is a animated film from China that did only like 20 million in China, but did
So this is biggest
1.4
worldwide,
billion.
is it?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Huh.
And number two is Lilo and Stitch, which did massively
Wow.
this year.
Didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Didn't see
Well,
that
what I
period.
do what I
need to
do see
watch it.
coming that I am excited for is the new Knives Out.
9-inch nails, baby. Oh, okay. Yeah. that too.
Wake Up Dead Man.
Wake Up Dead
And,
Man, of course.
I mean, like, if I know we all are tired of all these reboots and rehashing and all that. Even though we're literally talking about two movies that are exactly that. But Anaconda.
Paul Rudd and Jack Black. I think that's
Paul
going to be
Rudd,
out
Jack
next
Black.
year, though, right? No
Is it
mistake.
next year or at late this year?
Maybe something like that. Yeah.
Well, it says at the minute it says December 25th, so it's a
okay,
great
maybe.
Christmas
Oh.
time with a giant snake.
Such a summer movie coming out at Christmas. That's so strange. I think Tron Ares. I am looking forward to, even though the last one was kind of like missing some fun. Jared Leto back as a kind of an android, like straight out of Blade Runner 2049. Looking forward to that, and that soundtrack, obviously, super excited for that. I saw a couple of other films. By the way, I finally saw a movie in which Priyanka Chopra was decent, which was called Heads of State.
I did see that too. Was she decent?
Yeah, she finally
I
didn't.
mean-
Her accent, nothing was grating. It was all fine. And it was
She
not a
had
terrible
nothing to
movie.
do- She was barely in that movie.
No, yeah, she's
what?
barely in that. But I
Yeah.
thought one of the best movies I saw this year was a comedy. Obviously, we're looking forward to Naked Gun. But we'll talk about that when that comes out. But I did see a movie called Deep Cover. Please watch this movie. It's on Amazon Prime. It is maybe one of the funniest movies I've seen this year. Just absolutely hilarious. Bryce Dallas Howard, absolute brilliant performance from Orlando Bloom, playing just the funniest character I've seen in years, and our boy Nick Mohammed from Ted Lasso. Yeah, great ensemble cast. Even Paddy Considine from Game of Thrones is House of the Dragon. He's great in it. Please watch this movie. Sean Bean, so many great. Ian McShane, great cast. You'll love it.
Wow.
Watch this movie. It's so funny.
Cool.
Yeah. Anything else you guys saw recently that has made you enjoy?
Yeah, quite a few. I saw Black Bag the other day.
I want to watch that so badly.
Not bad. Not it's a quiet movie.
It's your boy, right? Soderbergh.
Soderbergh. Yeah. It's him just like operating in a lower gear, but tight movie.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw some terrible movies also. I saw G20 with Amanda Waller, Viola Davis.
G20.
Terrible movie. It's White House Down meets Die Hard, but at the G20 summit. It's terrible. It was absolutely terrible. Yeah. So yeah, a couple of duds out there, a couple of good ones. We're still yet to watch Happy Gilmore 2, but we shall discuss all of this very soon. Cool. Thank you so much, guys. Dinkar, thank you so much for being on the pod.
Thank you, Tejas, for being on the pod.
Jishnu.
Thank you yourself also.
All right, and we'll see you guys at the next episode. Bye, nerds.
Bye.